here, and communities most impacted are standing up. This is Earth Deserves More Than a Day, hosted by Rainier Avenue Radio and King County Parks. From elected officials, grassroots leaders, from river tours to cultural art, we gather to take action. Listen in, learn more, then get involved, because the Earth wait, and neither can we.
8 p.m.
What up, yo? We are back. This is and the man that don't take no mess, Mr. O-P-I-S, Mr. Stevenson. What say you? I do. Man, you are angry.
I just want to make that be known.
Tune in to Lidline Sports every Monday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Lidline Sports.
So I needed to check my kids' immunization records for their school. My doctor told me I could get them quickly online, but I couldn't figure out how. Thankfully, I could turn to Link to Care WA for help. With Link to Care WA, I was able to learn how to use online health portals, use telehealth to talk to my doctor virtually, and even apply for jobs online. I called their free hotline and got help from a real person. Call Link to Care WA at 866-757-1832 or visit linktocarewa.org.
Rainier Avenue Radio.
All right. Here we are, Seattle Sports Weekly. I am Mark Tito on the air. And we're just glad to see y'all another week. We got a big show today. And so, like I said, the Seahawks news. We're going to talk about that. We got Corbin Smith here and talked with him earlier. So, interview we did with him. Going to break down the Seahawks loss. That is, the 8-10 in home openers have lost three. I mean, they're 8-10 overall at home in the last 3 seasons, and it's kind of a thing. I should go more into that a little bit, but they've lost their last 3 games at home. So there's this debate about, hey, almost kind of they say with the Mariners, when other fans come in, then they dominate the home crowd. Then not quite as bad as Mariners, but when teams that travel well, like the Niners, or the Steelers, but they're away. The Bills, any of these teams that travel really well. There's a debate about, hey, what can we do about not allowing opposing fans access to tickets? Because even though you had 68,752, which is a good number, there definitely were a lot of 49er fans, not as much as usual. So, I don't know. I think the key is you got to win, right? You want to get butts in the seats, win. Is it really fair to say, hey, don't sell tickets if I buy season tickets, I have season tickets, I don't want to go? Can you tell me who to sell those tickets to? Right. Favorite band is coming, and then I guess it's a little different, but kind of the same thing. I'm thinking more from economic free enterprise perspective here. There I buy. With my money, I make that choice, and I should be able to sell to whoever it is, and so that I want. Well, I don't know. It's just a question for me, but I think you have to win. The key here is, you win games, and you will get your Seahawk fans in there. If you're a good band, you will get fans out there, right, to see your show. So a little bit of that, but just a lot to go over in terms of the Seahawks loss. Again, I said to the 49ers, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'm going to go ahead and this is my discussion with Corbin Smith, who is the CEO founder of the Emerald City Spectrum. All right, we are recapping the Seattle Seahawks 13-17 loss to San Francisco 49ers with none other than Corbin Smith of The Athletic. Corbin, thanks for taking the time out. How you doing?
Well, I'm the Emerald City Spectrum, not The Athletic. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
Oh, shoot. Yes, the Emerald City Spectrum.
I don't think I've replaced Mike Dugar yet.
No, man. Okay, there you go. The Emerald City Spectrum. And where can we find the Emerald City Spectrum?
EmeraldCitySpectrum.com. Really easy. $6 a month or $60 for an annual subscription.
All right, there it is. Okay, let's get right down to it. What first impressions?
Look, I know a lot of fans are going to be looking at this game, and it's going to be the end of the world. That's the way that it is in week one if you don't win. And the offense did not look good for most of this game. That is stating the obvious. The run game was not what was being hyped up. I expected a little bit better from the rushing attack. I don't think Sam Darnold played poorly. It just felt like the game plan just kind of took the ball out of his hands a little bit. When they did throw the ball, it was a lot of dink and dunk stuff, screen game. When they did take their shots downfield, he missed on a couple of throws. He also connected on that one to Jackson Smith-Njigba at the end of the game that put him in a position to be able to potentially win. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But look, the defense, to me, the defense was dominant for 85% of this game. There was a 95-yard touchdown drive at the beginning. There was the game-winning touchdown drive at the end, sandwiched around it. But they had 4 drives in a row that the 49ers drove past 40-yard line of the Seahawks. 2 of those times they got in the red zone. 1 of those times inside the 10. They gave up 3 total points on those 4 drives. So it truly was bend, don't break defense week one. I thought that the defense did a lot of really good things. The offense did not help them with the lack of sustained possession. So I think it's easy to look at this game and think the world is ending. You know, oh my gosh, we lost a winnable game. And it's one that could end up hurting them at the end of the year. There's no question about it. But I also think you have to look at the fact that this is one that just a couple plays going a different way, the Seahawks win this one. It really was a back and forth battle that was defensive. And I think there were a lot more positives than negatives coming out of this game after my rewatch.
Yeah, offensive line, how did you feel about that? And, you know, Mike, I'm sure you heard him this morning, said that they played well. What was your Gray Zabel? What did you see there? You know, first NFL game. And also Sundell, how was he in terms of being the quarterback of that line?
Yeah, I thought the offensive line had an okay game. I'm not going to sit here and say that they played great. I thought the pass protection was really good for most of the game. Only 1 quarterback hit on Sam Darnold the entire game. That pressure at the end where he ended up having the ball hit off of Abe Lucas's back, that was one of the few times where there was significant pressure put on him in the game. And unfortunately, it came at the worst time. But I thought the pass protection was pretty rock solid most of the game. I thought the run blocking was okay. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was bad. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was great either. There certainly were some plays where they missed guys up front that ended up wrecking run plays. I thought Anthony Bradford had kind of a rough first start at the right guard position after having such a good preseason. He whiffed a couple times that led to runs getting stuffed. I thought Jalen Sundell looked solid. Gray Zabel had some rookie moments. Welcome to the NFL. Also had some really nice blocks. I think there's some encouraging things for the offensive line. I think the biggest question is going to boil down to how do you handle the running back distribution? Because I like Ken Walker III, but it doesn't seem like this offense, and I'm saying this from training camp and preseason games, it does not seem like this offense runs as smoothly when he's in against Zach Charbonnet. When Charbonnet was in yesterday, that coincided with when the offense had some success moving the football on the ground, and he got more snaps. I'm wondering if that's what we're going to see moving forward, with Zach Charbonnet being the guy that's going to get the lion's share of the reps out of the running back position group.
Yeah, Mike McDonald quoted as saying both played well. I have to go back and see, the reads, but he said there's going to be opportunities for both, and they will play. And to your point, in terms of carries, Zach had 12 carries, 47 yards, averaging 3.9. Of course, that long one and the TD. And Walker had 10 carries for 20 yards and a 2.0 clip with the long of 8. And I'm trying to see if Walker did have the three receptions, and he was targeted 3 times. So, there you go. It sounds like they both will play. Let me go back, just switch around a little bit to the defense. I'll start with, let me go with what Mike McDonald said about Drake Thomas and Tyrese Knight. And he said,
Yeah, that was interesting, Maz, because you go into this game and the expectation was Tyrese Knight was going to probably be on a snap count since he missed most of training camp and he didn't play in the preseason. That was understandable, but there were some good things that happened when Drake Thomas was on the field yesterday, including the Ernest Jones interception where they blitzed him, and he had a couple other run plays where he came in and had his imprint all over it. So he did some good things. Certainly, it looks to me like a situation where maybe, and they did this some last year, maybe when they are in more pass-oriented situations, Drake Thomas comes in. It could also be a case where Mike McDonald is using coach speak a little bit, and Tyrese Knight, he's kind of just giving him a little motivation here, like, yeah, we're giving a look at this other guy, so you better quickly start playing like we know you're capable of. So I don't know. It could be some posturing by Mike McDonald, but I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out now, because McDonald has put that out in the air that, these guys are competing now for snaps next to Ernest Jones.
Yeah, you're astute. This Corbin Smith of the Emerald City Spectrum. We're recapping yesterday's Seahawks loss to the Niners. You're right. I mean, I think he said, take the emotion out. We have some competition. Drake is playing well and deserves some opportunity. But he also said, you heard that, he was on a pitch count. So, Corbin, what affected the Nick Emenwari injury? How did that affect the defense? Because Mike said we're playing a little light. Can you explain what little light means and what you thought the effect it had on the Seahawks defensive?
Yeah, I don't know. When he said playing a little bit light, I think he was implying that, Nick Emenwari, we've seen it in training camp and preseason, he spent most of his time up in the box. Yep. And not having him out there and having to go with Devin Witherspoon as your slot, which obviously Witherspoon can play that position at a really high level, but Devin Witherspoon is 55 pounds lighter than Nick Emenwari is. So that's where the light aspect comes into play. They would have preferred, they built their game plan around I think Emenwari would have played 80+% of the snaps yesterday if he was out there healthy. And it's frustrating when you see a rookie go out and literally like the third play of his NFL career makes a tackle for loss, blows up Christian McCaffrey off the edge, and then he gets hurt. And, it's such a bum when that happens with a player of his upside. You're hoping that this is not going to be a lengthy injury for him. He tried to come back in, but really when he met lighter, I think it was just at the slot position. We had to slide Devin Witherspoon in. That meant Josh Jobs playing more on the outside. And that might lead, I'm going to answer something that maybe you were going to ask me, like what Seattle does with their outside cornerback position, because you and I, we were kind of talking about this as the game ended yesterday. I'm wondering if Mike McDonald tries to put a fire underneath Reek Woolen again with the way that game ended, and Josh Jobe had a pick in this game, did some nice things in run defense. Does Josh Jobe cut into his snap some this next week in Pittsburgh? That is something I'm curious to see what happens on that front, because the thing with Reek Woolen is you're going to get some splashy plays. He had that really nice pass breakup in the end zone earlier in the fourth quarter. But then you had those two huge mistakes on balls that I thought he could have made plays on, both of them. And just seemed like for whatever reason he lost track of the ball or passively tried to play the football. And you can't do that in the end zone. The other team wants the ball too. I'm just curious if Seattle's going to make some changes there in terms of what they're going to be trying to do with their outside cornerback spot, especially when Emenwari is back healthy. Is Josh Jobe on the field instead of Reek Woolen? I'm curious to see what happens there.
Yeah, and Mike, he said we will get to the bottom of what happened in the end zone in terms of that play you're alluding to where Woolen was pass coverage and then let the touchdown. I thought he said the ball was in the air. Hey, we got to go get that. So, defensive line, Byron Murphy. I thought he had a really good game. Leonard Williams, after the penalty, seemed to kind of settle down. Your thoughts on that interior line play?
Yeah, I thought Big Cat played great as always. I still don't think that roughing the passer penalty was a penalty, but both teams had key penalties that I didn't think Upton Stout should have been called for pass interference before Zach Charbonnet's touchdown. That to me was an uncatchable pass. I don't think Yao Ming was bringing that one in. So I think both teams got some benefactory penalties called against the other team that led to their first touchdown drives, and in the case of the Seahawks, their only touchdown drive. But I thought the defensive line played really, really rock solid. The one that jumped out to me, DeMarcus Lawrence was just wrecking dudes yesterday. He was throwing guys around, knocking them on their duff, had a couple tackles for a loss. He got my game ball yesterday on defense. I thought Lawrence was a monster off the edge when he was in the game. He recovered the blocked field goal by Julian Love, tried to return it. I mean, I really enjoyed watching the vet out there and the physicality and nastiness that he brings to the equation. Murphy had some really nice plays. I don't think the interior D-line was an issue at all yesterday. It felt like they had some issues at times with the lightness in the back half of the defense and giving up some runs as they got tired. I mean, they were on the field 38 minutes. So I think that the being gassed in week one was a part of the equation at the end that led to some of those plays not being made down the stretch. The 49ers were able to capture the win. That goes back to the offense. You got to have sustained drives to try to take some pressure off that defense.
Yeah, and speaking of vets that played well, Julian Love, one of his better games.
I love watching number 20 play. I think he's just one of those guys. He's a football player. He can do a little bit of everything. The ability to come up and make plays in the run game. He led the team with 10 tackles yesterday, had a sack, really did a nice job. I think he tricked Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey didn't think he was going to come, and then he did, came untouched. The only sack they got on Brock Purdy yesterday. They did get a lot of pressure on Purdy in yesterday's game, but that was the only sack they had. Love was the one that got it, obviously the blocked field goal. He just every week he comes up with big plays. He's an impact player that can play all over the defense, the type of indispensable safety that Mike McDonald loves to have in this defense. So 20 continues to play. Again, I thought the defense was dominant for most of this game. It was just a few drives that they messed up on some plays that they should have made, or they had the key penalty on that opening drive that extended it. Those are things that come back to bite you. But I think there's a lot to be encouraged about from this defense in this game.
And okay, as we wrap up here, and then the offense, your anything you need to change there? I mean,
I just think they have to be less conservative. I didn't like the game plan that Clint Kubiak had coming in. And a lot of times when people hear less conservative, they think, oh, airing it out. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. The run game can be part of that. I didn't like the way that the run game was utilized as the game progressed. It felt like in the third quarter they kind of got away from it. Right. And that's not what they've been selling this year. We're going to stick to the ground game. They had a lot of carries in the first half. It felt like they could start to wear down San Francisco a little bit, and that goes to that time of possession thing. But it just didn't seem like they were able to get that going. I felt like the passing game was way too passive. San Francisco was being aggressive, sending guys all game long. Sometimes you got to make teams burn for doing that. And the pass protection was holding up well enough that they should have been able to get some more throws. I'm not saying throw 70-yard bombs, but I'm saying you got to get that 10 to 20-yard passing game going and really attack. And it just didn't seem like the game plan was coordinated to that. So I think Clint Kubiak's got to look in the mirror and figure out, how can I get Sam Darnold more advantageous situations? How can I get guys not named Jackson Smith-Njigba more involved in the passing game, and count on the offensive line to protect the way that they did yesterday? And then I think you'll see some things start to change quickly. It's just one game. Clint Kubiak's first time with this group, but he's going to have to be a lot better next week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I mean, just to stay on this the Jackson Smith-Njigba show. I mean, he gets 9 receptions. That, everybody else has what, 5, 7. So he has 9 of the team's 22 receptions, just not, 9 of the 16 receptions. So I was disappointed as well that Arroyo didn't get time there. And Cooper Kupp, why tell me about his inability to get, he only got 3 targets and 2 receptions.
It didn't look like he was getting separation, and that's been the biggest concern at this stage of his career. Is he going to be able to separate? Now, I think the game plan impacted that to an extent. I think you got to do more to be aggressive to get those guys involved. But it was disappointing that Torrey Horton didn't get involved in this game either. I was really hoping to see the rookie get some activity in the passing game. That didn't happen. So that is on Clint Kubiak to get this offense in a position this next week where Sam Darnold has auxiliary options, that he isn't just trying to force feed Jackson Smith-Njigba. And I don't even think that's necessarily what happened yesterday. Smith-Njigba was getting open, so he was throwing it to him. But they're going to be, especially after this game, teams are going to be doubling him up. You've got to get some other players in this passing game involved. The tight ends, I want to see AJ Barner get some activity too. AJ Barner is a really good pass catching tight end. I want to see them get some of those players involved, but there's a lot of things that need cleaned up. I think they can be cleaned up. The one thing I will say is the people that are blaming Sam Darnold after the rewatch, I just don't feel like Sam Darnold was given much to work with game plan wise in this one. And he was accurate for the most part. I don't think Darnold was the issue. I think there were some other problems there. He's got to have some help from his receivers, and the offensive coordinator's got to help those guys out schematically to get some other players open and give him more options. So those are all the things they're going to be looking at this week. And I guess if there's a silver lining here, the New York Jets offense put up 32 points on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Seahawks ought to feel like they can go into this game with a sound game plan and be able to move the ball both running and passing on the road against the Steelers.
All right. He is Corbin Smith of the Emerald City Spectrum. Thank you so much for taking time out. We'll see you later this afternoon. Thanks again, Corbin. Appreciate you hopping on.
Sounds good, Moss. Thanks.
All right, there you go. Corbin Smith of the Emerald City Spectrum broke down some things there. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to keep moving and go right to this video we have of Mike. Let's see if we can get this, of Mike McDonald press conference from yesterday, so that you can get an idea of how he felt about the game and things like that. So here is what Mike McDonald had to say yesterday at yesterday's press conference.
Had a good morning. Guys played really hard yesterday. Obviously disappointing result, but a lot of the process up to this point I'm pleased with, which would have been the same answer if would have made a couple of plays there at the end, but the intent is there. Detail we gotta improve on as a football team, and we'll do that. So started today, and we'll go work our tails off this week and look forward to playing Pittsburgh on Sunday. We need more movement, so we'll call it and we'll execute it. We're doing a lot of good stuff. When we have some indecisiveness, it felt like that's when things got twisted a little bit. Put us in a lot of great positions, but unfortunately, let's go close it out.
And right there, he's talking about Sam Darnold, and we asked him. He was asked about Sam Darnold. How did Sam Darnold play? And you heard him say he put us in a good position. And then the previous slide, he was talking more, I think, in terms of run game. How it couldn't get rhythm on there. So
competing for more snaps. And I thought he played a tremendous football game. Played physical, played smart, played disciplined, finishing plays right. I thought he played a great game. Let's just call it like week to week at this point.
And this is a big one, and this is in terms of safety Nick Amenwori, the rookie, and he now has a high ankle sprain, and the team is debating whether to put him on. The big news is to put him on injured reserve. So if they do that, he will have to sit out 4 games. That's if you're on IR, you're on there for 4 weeks according to the NFL policy there. And it Corbin touched on this a little bit, and I'll go back. Is Amenwori was first of all, they were Seahawks were just flabbergasted when they moved up, right? A couple picks to get Amenwori because what they wanted and what they saw in him was a box to box kind of safety, an extra big body in there in the box that can stop the run and then also help in pass coverage. So it's kind of devastating news here. And really what we'll have to wait and see is what move the Seahawks will make in the next day or two. I know Mike said there in that it's week to week, but he also came back and said, look for them to make a move here. And because when Amenwori went down, the Seahawks tried a couple different things. The first thing, they tried to go to 3 safeties with Kobe Bryant, Julian Love, and Ty Okada. And Okada just, he didn't play well at all. He got burned about the next 3 plays. So then next series, so what they did was Seahawks, they went to a nickel package. And so in that, they brought on Josh Jobe, who you heard Mike talk about that he played well. So they had this nickel package with Jobe, and then they put Devin Witherspoon over in the slot. And so he also was with Rick Woolen and Kobe Bryant and obviously Julian Love. So that seemed to be the formation they stayed with that was most successful. We'll have to wait and see tomorrow what that looks like. And that's when we'll also get an injury report after practice tomorrow. But here's the rest of the quotes from Mike McDonald's press conference yesterday with the media.
If we make a move, it would be probably the next day or two. We got to decide whether or not to make a break. One is one-on-one on the running back. Didn't let the quarterback throw into his throw. EJ's where he's supposed to be in coverage, and he makes a phenomenal play. It's just kind of how it all works together. If we give the quarterback plenty of time to throw and step into it, the ball's probably a little more on time, and we're not having this conversation. So it takes all 11 every play, and details matter, and when we do it, we play some really good football.
And Mike's talking about the last play, the last offensive play there, and what happened was Sam Darnold gets the team down there, and on that play where he is in it, back to pass, Abe Lucas gets blown up by Nick Bosa, and then Lucas's body makes contact with Darnold, who is in a forward throwing motion, and that's where the fumble occurred. Unfortunate, but you gotta like what McDonald is talking about here, attention to detail, and they have to be better, and some insight, as he says, on every play, all 11 have to work together.
We're not running the ball effectively. We're either not hitting our targets, or we're wrongly leveraged, or maybe not taking the right path. Could just be one of whatever things. It's not like guys don't know what to do. It's just how to do them to a certain extent, and we'll get those things cleaned up as we go. I mean, you're never going to play a perfect football game. That's why the effort and the physicality are so important, because a lot of times that makes up for a little lack of detail here or there. They got good players too. Like they're allowed to go make plays, and they're allowed to game plan and do some things that you might or may not expect. And that's why the game of football is so great. It's just back and forth, this battle of wills. So, that's just what I'm talking about. When we're on our stuff and we're rolling, I think we can be pretty dangerous. Trying to.
And again, Mike giving some insight in terms of when it's a run play, that all 11 have work there. And what does that mean? Well, the offensive line has to block, right? And the Seahawks use this wide zone. So everybody's got to block to the right or the left, whichever the ball's carrying. Obviously, the ball's going to get to the running back. The running back then has to make the right read and then get in the hole, and then, to get past the initial point of attack. So I thought that was good insight for people to understand that every play, it all looks kind of mundane, hike the ball, hit it to the running back. But as he said, you know what? You're not going to be perfect in every play, but being physical and being aggressive on both sides of the ball can make up for, let's say, an improper read by the running back, or let's say the right guard doesn't quite shave the defensive player. But those two tangibles, physicality and then technique as well, can make up for some of those, lack of execution.
Attack the football. We would have all loved him to make the play. And I'm sure, I guarantee you, Tariq Woolen is the number one person that he wishes that he made the play too. And he's made plays like that. I'm thinking of the Rams game last year in 2 minute. The first play of the game, or the first game last year in Denver, we made the play on the over route, and he's made some tremendous plays for us. Made a great play on the red zone and there on the goal line. Unfortunately, the 2 plays that he wants back are the ones near the end of the game. So one's a technique thing, and I think the other thing's just maybe put yourself in a better body position where you make the play, not the other guy.
All right, so there you go. Mike McDonald, Monday afternoon press conference with the media yesterday. So we're up on a break. So what we're going to do now, we're going to head to the break, pay some bills. We'll come back and give you an update on some announcements, and then some big high school football O-Day at Rainier Beach. That's Thursday at 7 p.m. The O'Day Irish are ranked at number 1. So we'll be right. Both teams. O'Day's 0-1. I'm going to look up who they lost. And then Rainier Beach is undefeated. So there you go, live from the Southwest Athletic Complex this Thursday. And that you can watch it here. Oh, of course they did. They lost to Graham Capswin, which is a very, very elite football team down there, down south in Washington. So there you go. All right, we're going to go on break, and we shall return. This is Seattle Sports Weekly.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rainier Avenue Radio.world, the station that cares about our community.
Sediment cleanup of the lower Duwamish River has begun. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the members of the Lower Duwamish Waterway Group, which includes King County, the City of Seattle, and Boeing, have begun sediment cleanup of the Lower Duwamish Waterfall Superfund site. This important environmental project will address sediment pollution and help restore the health of the Duwamish River. Starting on the waterway's upper reach, construction activities extend from the South 102nd Street Bridge down straight to the Duwamish Waterway Park. Over the next 3 years, in-water activities will occur from October to February, ending in February 2027. Visit ldwg.org to learn about the upper reach cleanup and sign up for email updates.
Mga kaibigan, ito po si Kuya Bert Kawili.
And this is Miles Salvador from Australia.
And I'm Norb Kawili, also known as Norbcam.
Kung gusto niyo po ang latest news and events from the Philippines at yung local Filipino community, Phil Radio po.
We play Filipino music and interview guests from all around the world.
And I'll keep you updated on the latest Seahawks and sports news.
Kaya always tune in, Phil Radio, every Tuesday, 1 to 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
And in YouTube and Facebook. Salamat po.
Do you want to reach out to the Vietnamese community in Seattle? Just advertise in Le Tây Bắc, that is Northwest Vietnamese News, the longest running Vietnamese language newspaper in our region. Go to nvnorthwest.com.
Hello, I'm Tony Young, and every week I will be your guide to the music of the Fab Four with my show, With the Beatles. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, those 4 lads from Liverpool. First airings are Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. with repeats on Thursdays and Saturdays from 8 to 10 a.m. right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. Tune in to catch Beatlemania.
Get ready for a double feature funk tribute. The Gap Band, Roger and Zach. Music provided by Kevin Gardner and the Star Five at the Columbia City Theater, 4916 Rainier Avenue South, Saturday, September 13th, 7 to 10 p.m. Tickets available at columbiacitytheater.org.
You can't get enough of Rainier Avenue Radio.
All right, we are back. Seattle Sports Weekly. I'm Peter Mara, and as we do every week when we're on, breaking down the Seahawks and then the Seattle landscape. We're going to talk Sounders and Seattle U a little later. Adam Race is going to come on, and then Andrew Bailey is going to come on. He's second week in a row to talk the Huskies, who are big win over UC Davis. I'm not sure if that, they won 70 to 10. I'm not sure that's the biggest surprise, but it was a win. And so we'll break that down. But we're going to start with Andrew Bailey, and then Adam will come on later. So, but right now in the moment, man, it's all for the taking, as the saying goes, for the Seattle Storm. They are playing Golden State tonight, and it's very simple. You win, you're in the playoffs. You lose, then you've got one more game on Tuesday, and then it becomes, you will then not control your own destiny, because if you look at the WNBA standings right now, the Storm are 8th place, and then right behind them is the Los Angeles Sparks. Now, the Storm have played 2 more games, and the win today would basically give the Storm, as I said, the playoff. So I'm kind of shaken here, and it's been a real up and down season for the Storm, and they've lost. They're in a 2-game losing streak, and both of those, if they would have won again, they would have been in the playoffs. So, and they were home games. You lose to the Sparks 91-85. You had a 17-point lead. You come back home. 4 days later, you host the New York Liberty, and you lose there 76-84. And it's just really tough trying to figure out the Storm team. Who are they? Are they that team that, played really, really good basketball and were 4th in the WNBA there, and looked like, they were definitely an NBA contender. Because you won, you won 4 in a row. Then you go to the All-Star break, you come back, and you go on this 6-game losing streak. And then that's kind of when the wheels fell off, and people were starting to think, who is this Storm team? Then the Storm come back and they win 3 games, and they beat Chicago, Dallas, and Washington. And you're thinking, okay, now they're back, but they get boat raced at Indiana without Caitlin Clark, and then they win 2 in a row at Minnesota, one of the best teams. Minnesota's 2 losses have been to the Storm, and then you're thinking, okay, they beat the Storm, they beat the Minnesota, the Lynx, they beat Chicago, and then as I said, they come back and they lose 2 games to the Sparks and the Liberty. So, I'm such a fan of Noel Quinn, but if they don't win and get in the playoffs here, there'll be questions. And there's no telling where the direction of this franchise, where they will go, because, you've got Neko Gumike, you got Gabby Williams, Skylar Diggins. They all went to the All-Star game. So did Erica Wheeler. But, I mean, you have 3 All-Stars here. If you can't win with those 3 All-Stars, and then you have arguably the best, brightest rookie in Dominique Malunga, and, she has 4 double-doubles this season and leads all reserves in the WNBA. So, if it just comes down to that, this is it tonight. You can right a lot of wrongs by beating Golden State again, who I said, you're 1-3. You lost 2 down there, you won 1 up here, and this is it. You just have to come down, and the season is on the line. For you to control your destiny. And that's what I mean when the season's on the line. As I said, they have 1 more game left, but this is a big make or break game for the Storm. And then we'll report and let you know what happens next week. All right. So now we're going to shift a little bit our attention to the Washington Huskies, who, again, as I said, they were big winners, 70-10 over UC Davis, which is, it's not the biggest surprise, but looming there. Jonah Coleman had, a game of all games. He was co-Big Ten, co-offensive Big Ten player of the week. And so Andrew Bailey was there. And so, Andrew, just give me your first impressions of what you saw in the UW win over UC Davis.
Well, you take a look at the Huskies drive sheet, and it says touchdown, 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 touchdown. There wasn't a single time that UC Davis stopped them. So they just ran wild on the Aggies on Saturday night, and it was really just a party on Montlake for the most part all day. So we'll start with that.
Are you surprised?
Not really. I mean, it's an FCS team, but they're supposed to be a good FCS team. So Jonah Coleman, setting that record, tying the modern record with Corey Dillon. That hadn't happened since 1996, 5 touchdowns in a game. He would have had more had he been able to play the whole game. He had that feat accomplished by the beginning of the 3rd quarter. He had 4 touchdowns in the first half rushing. So, and as a team, I think they had 8 touchdowns running the football. So, that's all you could ask for on offense. And then defensively, they did a great job. They held the Aggies to 218 yards, only 10 points. So Fish was pleased with that. The only thing that he wanted them to improve, and I asked him about this yesterday in the press conference, they need to do a better job of taking the football away. Takario Davis did have an interception in the game, but this week they're really preaching, stripping the football, taking the football away, attacking the football, because they know they need to do more than just create 2 turnovers on the season as a whole. When they get deeper into this season and they play against Ohio State, Illinois, Oregon, Michigan, these tough teams, they got to create their own luck in some of those matchups. So taking the football away is important, and they're really preaching that in fundamentals this week.
Now, is in terms of what Fish, is he saying that, are they getting to the quarterback? And if not, why? Or yeah.
I would say they did a great job of getting after the quarterback this week. That wasn't the issue. They had 3 sacks. 3 different players had a sack. Durfee had a sack. Isaiah Ward had a sack. And Lane had the big sack to start the game, which just set the tone from the outside. You knew there was just no chance. He comes out on that first play from scrimmage and just clobbers Caden Pinnock on that first play. And that just kind of like I said, set the tone. And they just kind of just cruised from there defensively. They forced a 3-and-out, and they go right down the field and score. So it's just, not necessarily, that they weren't able to get pressure, but it's like Fish was saying more so, it's not just about getting a sack. It's about getting a strip sack. It's not just about getting the guy on the ground. It's punching the ball out. those things are the things they're working on in practice this week with fundamentals. And that's when I asked him the question, that was the first thing that came up. He said they need to do a better job of taking the football away. So, but defensively as a whole, they did a good job. They kept UC Davis to just 10 points. I mean, they had a couple penalties here or there that you could have said, well, they could have done a better job, but overall, just a great performance.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're working on their technique in terms of when they get to the backfield there, which makes sense because not this weekend, but I know you were there. They play the Washington, it's the Apple Cup. And I believe you were there for the first meeting on November 29, 1900. That was so, and no, honestly. So, look, big game for them, right? Because the last time these two teams played is that the UW lost 24-19 at Lumen Field. Did he start talking about that, or yeah?
Yeah, he talked about that. They're using last year as motivation. They lost on that 1 yard play at the goal line. They weren't able to get in the end zone, and so they're using that as motivation. You could tell their focus has completely shifted. They didn't really do much, it seemed like, in terms of watching the film from UC Davis. They watched it real quick, and then they're just all focused on winning the Apple Cup next week, and that's their focus. And that's why they want to work on creating turnovers, because turnovers are usually a big deal in these games. Whoever wins the turnover battle typically wins the game in these rivalries. So it's important to preach trying to find more ways to create turnovers and do those things. And then the other thing he talked about was what they're doing at special teams. They liked what they saw from Denzel Boston getting that punt return for a touchdown. They've also liked what they have seen from Jonah Coleman and Adam Muhammad in the return game. And because it gives opposing teams, another thing to have to worry about. It's like they're trying to find other ways to get an edge, to flip the field position. Because when you have to worry about the kick returners or the punt returners, then you worry about, okay, do we kick to these guys? Do we kick away from these guys? And they kicked away, UC Davis kicked away from Jonah Coleman and Adam Muhammad in that game. And so the Huskies ended up with great field position, averaged about at the 37-yard line to start the drive. So on the times that UC Davis kicked. So
yeah, there's no doubt that did all three phases of the game here. But just going back to the Apple Cup, so the Cougars play at North Texas, so the UW is going to have an extra game film to watch and scout. So that's bode well in terms of that. All right, so all right, thanks for the quick update, Andrew. We're gonna we'll see. Maybe we'll be back for a preview, but we got to switch gears now. So it sounds like the Washington is focused, a little revenge factor going on there, and they are definitely want to bring back that Apple Cup. All right, thanks for joining us. That's Andrew Bailey, and you can actually read his stuff on CascadiaSports.net. He's got a great article he put up there last night. So, all right, Andrew, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, Moss.
All right, there you go. Okay, you know what? This is what we do. What do you mean? D-Money's DMing me thinking I was there for the 1900 Apple Cup. No, I was there for the 1935 Apple Cup. I thought the 1900. But we're going to switch gears because that's what we're trying to get the pace here. And last night, we saw an amazing display of soccer, both teams. It was the Fewing Cup, and it was Seattle U against the University of Washington Huskies. And speaking of Huskies, and the Huskies just put on a dominant offensive display. Joining us is Adam Race, who was on the call with me on the game. Adam, just thoughts on the Husky offense. They were down 2-0. They come back and score 7 goals. What did you see?
Well, Maz, I talked to you pre-game that this is a very talented Husky roster, especially going forward. And I knew that if Seattle U was going to want to get a result, they were going to have to try to neutralize the wing play that the Huskies were going to go for, because they have players on the wing like Richie Amon, who can just create something out of nothing. And it was a great start for Seattle U. Obviously, they got the 2 goals exactly how they'd want to do. They were able to play solid defense, great tackling, get out on the counter, and score with the opportunities they were given. But it just seemed that once that little leak was sprung in the dam, it blew open for the Huskies. They got those 4 goals right before halftime. And it started with little things off of set pieces. There's some really good dead ball specialists on the Huskies roster, and they used that. And Seattle used to blame a little bit as well, some missed marking. And they kind of let their heads drop a little bit. And the Huskies have the kind of attacking talent where if you let the heads drop, they're going to punish it over and over and over again, and that's what they did. It was a game that Seattle U knew was going to be difficult. I think they tried very hard to take it to the Huskies, and it kind of backfired in the end.
Yeah, and you've seen some of the UW players, because you also call the games for Ballard FC. Who were some of the notable players that you've seen in both arenas that really stood out for you last night?
Yeah, I mean, there was players on both teams who played for Ballard FC who had really good games. On Seattle U's side, Luke Hammond only played the second half, but he's always a calming presence on the field down that left side. Andre Filibosian is crucial to link up play in midfield for Seattle U. Sadly for the Redhawks, that wasn't happening a whole lot, especially as the game went on. They were kind of stuck in their own defensive third for a lot of that game. Filibosian did what he could when he could, but a lot of that pressure was put on the back line, the back 5 at times. And for the Huskies, Richie Amon with the ball at his feet, he's one of the best players in all of NCAA for my money. I mean, he's the kind of player, I talked about it during the broadcast, he's a cheat code because you can just get him the ball on the left and he will just create something alone. You get him isolated, you get him one-on-one. He had help from Cameron Cruz, another Ballard FC player who'd swing over to that left side. They have really good interplay. And of course, they've played together now over the summer and during the collegiate season. It really helps. Davis Mugomba for Seattle U, he's also a Ballard FC player. He had a lot of work to do. And we talked about it during the broadcast, Moss, that he put in a really good effort. It's hard to say that a center back had a good game when you give up 7 goals, but when the ball came to him, he did what he could.
Yeah, and so if you're Seattle U, where do you go from here?
I mean, it's obviously a really tough result to take, and it's kind of one that you need to put in the rearview mirror as quick as possible. Look at it, take the lessons, definitely work on set piece defense during the week. It was something that it was just breakdowns that cost them the game in the end. I mean, it's a mental test for a team that is very new. They lost a lot of players from last year, especially on the offensive end. There's good things to take away from this game. The fact that you're able to take a 2-0 lead after having only scored 2 goals in the 4 games previous to that and having gone a couple games without a goal. You have the talent in there to find finishes, to find goals. It's just about making sure that on the other end, you can stay defensively solid. That's something Seattle U tends to do really well. So you have good things to take away on the offensive end, but you just need to take the mental lesson and not let that big leak spring in games going forward.
And that was, we're going backwards, forwards here, but obviously, what was the scene like last night? Because it was a cup. And the Fewing Cup, what was the atmosphere, little audience, that might not have been there?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a big occasion. It's definitely the biggest collegiate soccer match every year in the city of Seattle. It's the 65th time that they've faced off, and over 1,600 people at Championship Field. This is coming in just a few weeks after Seattle U women's soccer set an attendance record with over 1,200 at the UW Seattle U game, which was an exciting 1-1 draw with a buzzer beater finish. It was packed. There was obviously a lot of Redhawks fans, a lot of Huskies fans as well. The atmosphere was up. There was a big alumni presence, student presence is exactly what you want in a collegiate soccer game. It really just goes to show why Seattle is one of the best soccer towns in this country.
Yeah, okay, let's switch. Stay soccer, stay switched, and we can use Alex Rodan as the as our conduit. Former Seattle U player, now with the Sounders, who obviously won the Leagues Cup 3-0. Up next for them is the LA Galaxy. Just Hey, your thoughts on the Leagues Cup? I didn't get a chance to ask you. What was your thoughts there, and how does Seattle avoid the hangover? Because you're back to LA Galaxy, a team you beat twice, and you also beat in the semis. So take me through that one.
Well, it was really interesting, Maz, in the lead up. You and me both know we had been watching all the games up to that point. I think the media presence was kind of that, oh, it's Messi. It's Messi's Miami. They're the favorites. Can Seattle play spoiler? That was not ever the case. The Sounders, if you had really been watching the games, they were the favorite going into that game. They had been playing at such a high level, and they showed it right from the start that they were not the underdogs. And I don't think they would have been the underdogs even if it was in Miami. This Seattle team is playing at a world-class level right now, and they just went out and proved it. I wasn't honestly too surprised at the win. Of course, it's a dominant win. 3-0 is a huge margin. But Moss, this Seattle team, I mean, we just need to start thinking about them as one of the number one favorites for MLS Cup with the form they're in right now.
Okay, and so I think the boys from LA on Saturday, third meeting this year. So let me just do a hard stop there. The suspensions. So we saw the ugliness that came out there. So the fact that not only Leagues Cup suspended Luis Suarez and MLS suspended, I think it's 6-3. What are your thoughts about that? Did you expect that? Is that what should have happened? Thoughts?
I don't think that what happened is what should have happened, but I also am not surprised at all with what happened. Leagues Cup, a suspension in Leagues Cup is pretty meaningless. It's a new system. It's a new tournament that's still trying to get established. Not every team makes it every year. Getting suspended in the Leagues Cup, it's a slap on the wrist at most. It doesn't say very much. What really mattered was what the MLS was going to do. And, 3 games for Luis Suarez for an incident that I think ranks amongst his worst incidents, which is a pretty high bar when you look at his career. It's not surprising that the MLS would try to bring this as low as possible, but it's sad. I think it sets a bad example. And I think it kind of just, it pushes the narrative that everyone has that MLS kind of, babies this Inter Miami team because it's such a cash cow for them. MLS has always been about making money. That's been the bottom line since their inception. They were never going to cut out a big revenue thing like, stars like Luis Suarez, like Busquets. Busquets should have gotten a suspension MLS as well for punching Obed Vargas. I was talking with a friend recently, and he said that if Obed Vargas had punched Busquets after that game, he would be sitting out for a while. So it's not enough, but it's not surprising.
Fair enough. Great job, Adam. Amazing. So we're up against it. So we'll get you back next week, or when we're talking Sounders again. So he is Adam Race, and again, he is he's also CascadedSports.net contributor, and he is all-around broadcaster. And you can, as I said, you can catch him on Seattle University games as well. Well done, Adam. Thanks for taking the time to hop on.
Thanks,
all right,
man.
so there we go. Adam Race was on here, and then we had Corbin Smith, and then we had Andrew as well. So just a kind of whirlwind tour, and that's what we're going to try to keep the pace going here on Seattle Sports Weekly. D-Money, thank you for all the work that you do. I'm Osvita Mara. See y'all next week.